Bank on It, brought to you by Commercial Bank, member FDIC, life made better. Payton Lewis, bank on it, is going to be Tennessee's next offensive star. And it might not be Jalen Hyatt, where he's streaking down the field and racking up yards faster than I rack up parking tickets. It's going to be more of an abrasive, physical running style like Jamal Lewis. But I do believe at the end of the season, you will look back on this year and you will say that Tennessee hung their hat on what Peyton Lewis was able to do out of the backfield. Do we have a clip about Peyton Lewis? Is that what we're playing now, Caleb?
Yes, let's get that up real quick. This is from Josh Heupel on Peyton Lewis, talking about him at, again, the press conference yesterday.
I know Peyton Lewis isn't the only one with an increased opportunity for playing time this year, but what kind of camp and what kind of scrimmage did he have today?
Yeah, Peyton's had a great spring. He's got a lot more comfort and understanding in the scope of what we're doing. It should be that way in year two. He grew throughout the course of last year too. But he's done a really, really good job. That's with the ball in his hands, but it's also playing without the ball. All those running backs have done a good job of growing throughout, the first, I don't know, we're past the halfway point at this way, but have really grown fundamentally in playing without the football, and they've all, continued to take strides in the understanding of what we're doing in particular.
All right, so is Peyton Lewis Tennessee's most important offensive player heading into the season?
No, he is not.
Okay. Other than Nico,
I got a couple names for you. One, we just talked about him, William Satterwhite, because I think they're trying to make him work at center, and center is crucial for this offense to work.
Okay.
The other is Mike Matthews, because
Okay.
Mike Matthews is the type of receiver to dictate coverage and make this offense go in a way that Brew McCoy couldn't last year. I think Peyton Lewis has potential to be a special back as a luxury weapon type. But at the end of the day, if the offense is doing what it's supposed to do, you can really plug running backs into the system and make it work.
Okay. Well, that would appear to be the case with Deshaun Bishop, right? I mean, no slight against Bishop, but the Carnes product is not the most talented tailback Tennessee has ever had in their backfield, and he's, as a matter of fact, far from it. Our poll question: are you okay with winning with defense and ugly? Yes, absolutely, gets 53%. Yes, sort of, gets 46%. In other words, you want it to be like 2022, and I don't blame you. I think Peyton Lewis, in a weird sort of way, can make the Vols like 2022, as teams will start to respect Tennessee's running game even more. So, other than Nico, who is UT's most important offensive player, I'm going to tell you why it's Peyton Lewis, and I think Caleb's going to disagree, but that's kind of what we do, as it's Bank on It, brought to you by Commercial Bank, member FDIC, life made better.
Commercial Bank is your neighborhood bank. What makes us different from other banks? We understand that every customer has unique opportunities, challenges, and financial concerns. We don't expect you to fit into the same box as the next person or business. Whether it's purchasing a home, saving for your child's future, or planning for your next vacation, we're with you every step of the way to navigate life's big decisions.
Okay, here's my thoughts on Peyton Lewis. Tennessee's best tailback under Josh Heupel has been who? Caleb?
Oh, Dylan Sampson.
Okay, I would agree with that. Jabari Small and Jalen Wright were good, but not as good as Sampson. I think Peyton Lewis can be a combination of Jalen Wright and Sampson. I think he's got that type of ability. Given that as the foundation and context, would you agree that if he were a combination of those two guys, would be the bell cow and would be the most important player?
Oh yeah, and if I had a running back that was a combination of Jamal Lewis and
Right. That's a huge if.
Adrian Peterson, it's like
That's a huge if. So I'm just trying to determine where we stand on what we think Payton Lewis will do this year.
Michael Vick speed and Peyton Manning's
Yeah.
everything else. Give me
Right,
Peyton Manning with Michael Vick speed, like
Yeah, and Tom Brady's ability to comprehend defenses. But
LeBron with Steph Curry's jump shot.
yes. But Peyton ultimately, I do think he'll be a bit of a combination between those guys. I think he's going to be very good. And maybe that's where we differ a little bit on him because I think he's the bell cow. I think he's going to be that good. Now, our poll question, other than Nico, who is UT's most important offensive player? Peyton Lewis, Mike Matthews, sorry for the typo, William Satterwhite, Miles Kitselman. It's funny that Miles Kitselman has yet to get a vote. Guys, he should.
Well, he's banged up. That's why.
Well, I know, but I'm talking about for this upcoming season.
Yeah, but I think there's a worry that he won't be fully. I think people with Miles Kitselman being out see an opportunity for Ethan Davis to finally step up and be a star.
Oof. That's asking a lot for those former basketball players always scare me in football because they can be a little soft.
I mean, that's true. That is true, but
I mean, I could make a strong argument that Miles Kitselman is the most important player on Tennessee's offense. Now, you mentioned William Satterwhite. Why did you go to the Satterwhite direction?
Because I think Tennessee has fully banked on William Satterwhite being their center to replace Cooper Mays, who is obviously very, very difficult to replace. And I think William Satterwhite, the center, is such a crucial position in this offense. There are so many reads that they have to make. And you saw that with Tennessee, not just with Cooper Mays missing the Florida game in 2023, but you saw it in 2021. As good as Hendon Hooker was in 2021, Josh Heupel's first year, he got sacked a lot because Cooper Mays was hurt a lot of that year. Cooper Mays was fully healthy in 2022, and Tennessee's offense took off with Hendon Hooker and Jalen Hyatt and everybody, and then they went 11-2, and we know what happened. So the center position is crucial for this offense to go. And I think they have put a lot of stock in William Satterwhite being that guy.
Derek says that Peyton Lewis is the best running back prospect since Bryce Brown. Wouldn't argue with that. Is he a better prospect than Jalen Hurd? I will say yes, because I thought that Jalen Hurd should have been playing defensive end. As far as a better athlete, you could say Jalen Hurd was bigger and maybe as fast or as quick or as twitchy, but he wasn't a natural running back. He was just a man among boys. And I think that Peyton Lewis is a natural running back. So I would agree with what Derek had to say. Now,
I'm trying to figure out who oversold their commitment more as proof of what they were building. Butch Jones with Jalen Hurd or Lane Kiffin with Bryce Brown. But that's
well, Butch Jones with Jalen Hurd. It's not close because he shouldn't have been playing that position. Bryce Brown would have been solid had it not been for the coaches.
Yeah, but Lane Kiffin was acting like he landed the Michael Jordan of commitments in college football that year, and like he was asked like, "How'd you leave Tennessee in better shape after you left for USC?" And he's like, "We got him the #1 player in the country." Like,
yeah, that was. I mean, strictly from a recruiting perspective, that was pretty significant. Dylan says, "Me personally, it's Lance Hurd. If he doesn't have a better start to the year than Nico and Lewis are hindered, the blind side has been a major weak point." I guess I look at Lance Hurd, and we'll talk to Cooper Mays about this later in the program. I guess I look at Lance Hurd as more of a known commodity. Now, anybody could turn an ankle, right, Caleb? But I feel like Hurd's going to be a borderline all SEC player. So, yes, he is incredibly important, but to me, he's more of a known commodity.
Yeah, no, I actually agree with that. I think that Lance Hurd really stepped up towards the end of last year. I mean, you could tell Tennessee's season in two stories, basically. Like basically before the Alabama game and after the Alabama game, it's a totally different type of season how it played out. And I think that a lot of that had to do with how Lance Hurd developed as a player. That was more than losing to Arkansas, Dave. A red flag of the season was how they needed overtime to beat Florida. Remember? And I think that all had to do with Lance Hurd and the tackles just not coming on, Lance Hurd not being healthy, and Lance Hurd, once he got fully healthy, it was a totally different story.
All right, so your top three, the show represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney, banksandjones.com. In order, I want to hear on the message board and from Caleb Calhoun, your top three most important offensive players, not named Nico. So don't include Nico, but rank them in order. And I want to get your thoughts on that. I want to get Caleb Calhoun's thoughts as the show represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney, banksandjones.com. We broadcast from the Ted Russell Ford Lincoln Studios, the super dealer on Parkside Drive and Kingston Pike. Man, the selection is unparalleled. The fact that you will get in and out of there, the buying process is so easy, and they're just great peeps, and you'll be so proud of your vehicle when you drive off that lot. The Ted Russell Ford Lincoln Studio.
Like a blast from the past, the super dealer is back. Look to the skies, Knoxville. The super dealer is fighting for price, service, and the American-made. Ted Russell Ford is East Tennessee's #1 volume Ford dealer. Save up to $4,350 on a new Ford F-150 XLT, or get into a new Ford Ranger XLT with no payments for 90 days. Come see the super dealer today at either Ted Russell Ford.
Caleb, give it to me. 1, 2, 3. How would you rank Tennessee's most important offensive players not named Nico?
William Satterwhite 1, Mike Matthews 2, and I'll probably go Sam Pendleton 3 because he's a guard that's pretty much almost certainly going to be locked in at one of the guard positions.
I'll go Payton Lewis 1, Satterwhite 2, because if he's able to lock down the center position, then you can slide Pendleton and Moe to the guards. And after that, I'm going to go. Can I go Pendleton / Moe? I mean, I expect at least one of those guys to step up. So I'll take one of the transfer offensive linemen as I kind of cheat the system a little bit. Derek says, Derek's got a one-track mind. Sorry, y'all. I get excited about football. Basketball's over. Thank God. All right, Derek. So give me your 1, 2, 3 in terms of players that are the most important for Tennessee's offense. And with Satterwhite, if he's able to lock down that position, and I think he's had a bit of a disappointing spring, if he's able to lock down that position at some point, it allows you the flexibility to put Pendleton and Moe at the guard positions. And in Tennessee's offense, I think Cooper Mays was proof of this. You don't have to be a dominant center. You have to be a good center. So, and I mean, physically, he was a great center, an All-American center because of his mental acumen as well. Now, Dylan says Satterwhite, Staley, Sanders. I could see that. We haven't mentioned Boo Carter. I'm a little surprised, Caleb, you haven't gone there.
Okay, I'm not going to say most important.
Unsung says the offensive line, Josh Heupel, Joey Halsley. Yeah, he kind of went sideways too. How big of a year is this for Joey Halsley? Because I'm looking at some of the comments from a recent story that I posted, and the comment was, that was the last time you saw Josh Heupel's offense in 2022. It's been Joey Friday's night high school offense from here on out. The fans have demanded that he better be let go, and the tempo offense returns now. How important is it for Joey Halsley for his own preservation to have a big year?
Oh, I think it's kind of crucial because also I think if Joey Halsley, there's no way out for Josh Heupel though in this situation because you let go of Joey Halsley, that you're really indicting yourself at that point. But
well, and Elias says it's a make or break year. There is one way out, and I'm not suggesting that Josh Heupel did this on purpose, but if things don't go well in offense, you can fire Joey Halsley this year and probably save yourself. Josh Heupel knows that coaching maneuver as it was done to him at Oklahoma.
Yeah, I know that, but that's not a real way out because firing Joey Halsley would be an indictment against Josh Heupel. This is Josh Heupel's hand, like protege, groomed under him that he picked specifically to replace Alex Golesh. I mean,
yes,
that doesn't look great.
Yes and no. If you fire an offensive coordinator, it generally gives you an extra year, right?
Oh, I don't think Josh Heupel is getting fired, but I'm going to ask you this question, Dave. Who's a head coach who won a national title after he fired one of his coordinators?
Wow. Well, I mean, would you count Saban going to Lane? I mean, he made a change.
He did make a change. Did he fire? Didn't he? If I remember correctly, the 2013 Alabama team had Doug Nussmeier as offensive coordinator, and I think Doug Nussmeier chose to leave to go to Michigan the next year.
Yeah, but here's the way that kind of works under Saban. Every coach hates their life after the season, so they're all ready to leave, and then he tells you if you should stay. So he might have not fired whoever was there before Lane Kiffin, but he didn't encourage him to stay. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I could see that. And Nussmeier, and this was right after the Auburn. Basically, for those who don't remember, Alabama had lost to Auburn in the kick six, Gus Malzahn's first year at Auburn as the head coach, and it seemed like Auburn, the new wave of offense and tempo, was going to take over, and Saban wanted to run more tempo and get more creativity on offense, and he brought in Lane Kiffin to do it after that. So,
well, and bringing in Lane Kiffin, whoever was the offensive coordinator, was it Nussmeier? Are we sure on that?
yeah, it was Doug Nussmeier was before Lane Kiffin.
Well, doesn't that kind of send a message to Nussmeier that it might be time to cruise on out when you bring in an outside offensive consultant?
Well, I don't know if Lane. I don't know I don't know how it went. If Doug Nussmeier left and then he got Lane Kiffin, or if he got Lane Kiffin and Doug Nussmeier.
No, Lane was brought in December before the bowl game that year. So that's a pretty. I mean, that's still during the season. That's telling Nussmeier he needs to hit the door and not let it hit him on the backside on the way out.
Yeah.
I mean, Caleb, if you hired somebody that was going to be a consultant that was going to look over your shoulder all day long, I mean, wouldn't you kind of take that as, hey, that's not exactly appreciative of my work?
Yeah, no, that's true. But according to sources, this was following. Okay, put it this way. It was within 3 days. Nussmeier left, and 3 days later, Lane Kiffin was hired. My guess is Nussmeier knew Lane Kiffin was being hired.
You think?
Yeah.
Think? Yes. Derek says Staley, Lewis, Mike Matthews. Almost went Ethan Davis. Boo isn't even on my radar as far as offensive goes. That's because you're smart, Caleb. Staley, are we maybe undervaluing him? Because when Tennessee's offense was at its best, it was Jalen Hyatt running up and down the field in the slot.
Yeah, but I don't think the slot receiver has much to do with the slot receiver's production. I think Jalen Hyatt's production had way more to do with what Brew McCoy was doing on the outside, honestly, that freed him up to be an impactful player. That's why I always thought Jalen Hyatt was overrated for the NFL, and I think I've been kind of proven right on that, by the way.
Unsung says our offense is loaded with talent at receiver, running back, and tight end. It's up to the coaching staff to let that talent shine. Will they? Are they loaded at tight end? Caleb, if I made you pick loaded, sufficient, and not tight end, talent. If I made you pick loaded, sufficient, or lacking, which would you choose? I'd choose sufficient. I don't think they're loaded. I thought they were loaded last year.
Can I give a fourth option?
Yes.
Top heavy at tight end.
Well, not just tight end, talent overall. I misspoke. Sorry.
Oh, I think they're sufficient. I think they're sufficient overall. Yeah, I don't think they're like loaded. Now, I do think the receivers are more loaded than last year. I do. And I think that's a really good sign for Tennessee.
Whoa. You couldn't have thought that headed into the season.
I didn't think that heading into last year, no. But then once I watched last year, Brew McCoy was clearly not Brew McCoy. And that changed everything. Look, this offense needs that receiver, Dave. We talk about this all the time. And you bring this up. It needs the receiver that dictates coverage, that forces you to roll an extra guy over. That's the only way you can actually have the benefits of reading the safety, the way the quarterback has to do. And so without that, and Brew McCoy was not that last year, Tennessee couldn't do what it needed to do. And I think that, and also look, there was a 3-3-5 that teams were running, so Tennessee had to stick with the run game. And Josh Heupel, to his credit, stuck with it, but he had to use an extra blocker, and that, hurt things when they had to play more elite teams. I think overall, Tennessee just needs that elite wideout who dictates coverage. And I think that this year, Mike Matthews is that. And so that's why I said Brew McCoy fully healthy. I just told you guys, I give Brew McCoy way more credit for Jalen Hyatt's Biletnikoff than I give Jalen Hyatt. Jalen Hyatt should give half that award to Brew McCoy.
Just cut it in half.
Cut it in half and give it to Brew. Yeah.
That's right.
I mean,
so new poll question. I feel most confident in UT's receivers, UT's tight ends, UT's running backs, or Nico. I'm going to say tight ends because I'm going to
say receivers.
Okay. Is it scary if Nico's not number one in this?
Nah, I don't think so. But back to the root point of what we're saying, though, because we were talking about Payton Lewis in general and how important Payton Lewis is. I don't know if he's important per se. I just think Payton Lewis could be a uniquely talented player. But I don't know how, put it this way, a great comparison. 97 offense, Dave. Jamal Lewis was insanely talented. He wasn't the most important player in that offense, though.
Well, Peyton would have been.
Yeah, and I think Trey Teague would have been second.
Okay.
And we found out in '98 Jamal wasn't even the most important player on the national championship team because he went down and as special of a talent as he was, he goes down and they still win a national title.
Yep.
'Cause
Dylan
Running
says,
Back's
I'm
replacement.
confident in Nico more than anything. He's proven he can take over a game, and we've just got to get him help. I don't know that I'm that confident in Nico. Take over a game? How many times do you feel like he took over a game last year?
That's a topic for another day. Can Nico take over? Let's save that one because that's a question. Can Nico take over?
Yeah, it's pretty good stuff.